how you went from, understanding social circle was important to really using it as a vehicle.
I did a lot of hunting. I got abundance from hunting. I then put a lot of, I don't know, some work on Instagram in terms of doing some stories and all of that. And then really the next level after that is to now use Instagram more as a funnel. So no longer as a resume, but as an actual funnel. And where to use Instagram as a funnel, now what you're talking about is Instagram ads. All right. So now you're saying, okay, so now let's have an actual campaign. Let's actually try to throw an event where we're going to advertise it. We're going to advertise the event, and to even do this with another guy as well too. So there's like there's two of us.
Well, what about this? What about just using Instagram ads for dating?
What do you mean by just you mean like a personal ad? You mean or
Yeah. And I know the answer, obviously, but like,
exactly? Yeah, this works basically in like 1% of the cities in the world, but
right. In the Philippines, it works. In Colombia, it works. In, these passport bro stamped destinations of being good, Thailand, you can literally run an Instagram ad saying, who's in Bogota with a photo of you like in front of a landmark. And girls will respond to that. And it'll work way better than online dating, which is
that's right. You need okay. That will work in New York. You know what it has to be? It's basically it's you being Leonardo DiCaprio with a little personal ad on Instagram. Hey, I'm Leo. I'm here in New York. Anyone want to like meet up? All right, that'll work. So that's if your SMB is already basically that. If your SMB is 9 or really high, maybe a personal ad might work. But honestly, like even in New York, like everyone's got a million options, and like really, what I think, the what is valuable to women is like cool events. If they think this is a cool event, they want to come.
yeah.
So if you're advertising a cool event, that's actually in demand, right? It's like, there's a saying that basically, dick is cheap, right? Nobody wants dick.
Right.
It's like, you know, girls want other things. The dick is ancillary. I don't know. It's a byproduct almost.
Easy to get. Offered on every corner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But going to like a really cool event where there's photographers and I don't know, lots of other amazing women and guys, that's actually somewhat rare, and women want more of that. And that does not have a dating frame at all. I mean, this is why it's also good. So when you're kind of advertising events, this is not a dating frame at all.
And the key about social circle is you can't do it alone, right? You can't host an event and be the only guy there with 15 models, that just, they get bored, they leave.
That's right. So you definitely need to find. I would say for social circle, ideally you can find at least one other guy that really has the same mindset. And honestly, just two guys, you will push each other forward and it'll be kind of exciting. I found that in my situation, he was just massively motivated, aggressive, and we're both willing to run a lot of ads. To be honest, we ran a lot of ads in New York, and we got people to come out. We got people to join our group. So that was, we kind of curated this big list of people, mostly women, mostly hot women, but some guys as well. But not too many guys. And frankly, if the guys did anything weird, then we would kick them out. So if they were super promoting of themselves, we would get rid of them. Trying to keep it all aligned. And then we would throw events. We would throw events on basically hotel rooftops, right? Like a lounge. And like we would call it a mixer. It could be anything. It could be a business mixer even. We'd have different themes for these different events, like different like topics or whatever. It can even be talking about business. Nothing to do with dating, that's for sure. Just people, meeting up.
And it's funny that I feel like maybe the average guy who didn't understand any of this, he would ask himself, like, why does that work? Why would girls rather go to that than go on a date?
Yeah, I think that the value of the whole frame of date is already problematic. I haven't been on a date in a long time, to be honest. I've just been doing social circle events.
The guys and the girls who are in the highest demand don't go on dates. Like, dating is a relic of, people who are not doing well. It's a stepping stone, of course, like hunting is dating, right? But a date by default is a awkward encounter. It's an awkward thing. It's like we're meeting up with this sort of expectation that we're going to be like together forever. That's pretty pressure packed, right? And then like, do we kiss? Do we have sex? Like, what is all this, right? It's like I don't think dating was really a thing until like I don't know the mid 1900s. Like people just didn't like when did dating become a thing? Because before that, it was just you were either in an arranged marriage, you met someone, in your in like on the feudal farm where you lived, or it was only like the nobility and the royalty that even got the chance to like get married and that whole thing. So that's kind of like a whole.
It's a little bit even like that. If you go, like, I was in Bucharest in Romania, and they basically, they don't date a lot there unless you basically are in a relationship. So it's a little bit strange. And basically, the locals, they kind of decide they want to be in a relationship, and then they date, and that's it. They're not really into casual dating. And like,
You have sex first, and then you have sex a few more times. Then you're like, oh, we should go out in public together. We should go for a meal now that we know that we enjoy each other's company behind closed doors.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's not a lot of casual dating in some other markets. Basically, is what I'd say. So the West is, I don't know, it's a little weird. Honestly, I feel like dating is somehow like this weird activity that's somehow associated almost with online dating, because I don't know, man. Like I feel like online apps and dating somehow go hand in hand, but like they're both not very great. I think they're not. If you can do social circle, you're doing a group activity. It completely takes all the pressure off, because basically, essentially, a woman can feel she has the option to kind of move closer or to retreat back into the group, and then to even talk with other people as well. So that kind of safety as a group is very appealing, I think, for women.
For sure. I mean, it's basically both sides can vet the other side over a long period of time and then decide if they're interested or not. You can develop a crush, right? Like as a guy, if you want to get the highest quality companion, you need to allow that girl to develop a crush on you and let that crush turn into love.
That's right. And Instagram, I'll say Instagram stories and all of that, that is part of it. That's the online version of all of this. So that just keeps it warm. And I will say that like it helps keep all this stuff alive.
And men develop a crush on first sight, right? We fall in love at first sight. Or fall in lust at least in first sight. Women, it takes a little longer. It takes sometimes if you're the right flavor and she's on the rebound or whatever, it can be fast. But
Yeah.
we don't all look like Brad Pitt, so we don't have that luxury either. But they absolutely can develop a crush on us if we're a decent product and we do the right marketing in the right market, and surrounded and have many attempts to let that develop naturally via a social circle.
That's when I realized what social circle is. That I realized finally, like, oh, I am enough of a product. Because I think what online dating, if you first start out with that, you start to really question, like, oh, I must really suck. Like, I'm not a good product.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just so riddled with rejection, and as women aren't even really testing to see if you're a good product. They're like, I see 900 of the same product. How the hell do I know which one's good?
So they make kind of arbitrary, kind of very low quality factor decisions of like, oh, I didn't like his look or his height or whatever, and then like, but they don't know who you are at all. So, but yeah, with social circle, you start to have these deeper conversations and all that, and you're realizing, oh, look, like you can have an amazing conversation with an attractive woman, and like, oh, I'm enough of a product, actually. Yeah.
So you started hosting these events, building a large group of women on Instagram, and you started connecting the dots. And one of the biggest dots that there is to connect is what I like to call game recognizes game, right? So most guys don't have game unless they're in a relationship, and then they're useless because they're not on the market anyway. So they, no, it doesn't do a lot of good to collaborate with a guy who's in a relationship because they're just not driven to create any opportunities and throw events and do sorts of things. There's the occasional guy who just loves being in the limelight, but guys who easily get women can very quickly spot other guys who do the same, typically because they have women with them and they show up with a good ratio. And those guys also have what's called a dork force field, meaning they can easily recognize the guys who don't have game. And it's almost always easy to recognize that because when a guy comes into their orbit, they ignore them as the guy and they just try to hit on the girls, right? And as you get better and better and more skilled, you realize it's not about the girls, it's about the guys. Meaning, if I meet one guy who's got a ton of girls and I just become, in alignment and friends and a value add to him, I might not need to worry about meeting girls ever again.
So, okay, so I'm going to use the analogy of what War of Warcraft or MMRPG. Okay, so when you're encountering an attractive woman, okay, that's like +1 gold, whatever. Like, okay, I got one. Okay, when you encounter another guy who gets it, that is game recognizes game. That guy honestly is like +30. Like, it's really really valuable. Like, it's so valuable because that guy you can build things with. Um, like, attractive woman is great and all that, and maybe she could be part of the circle and all of that. But it's like there's actually there's a lot of that out there. But yeah, the game recognizing game, when you find another guy who gets it and you realize that, oh, you guys are aligned, you want to build, that is so massively important because a barrier to entry with all of this stuff with regards to farming and social circles, like, there is a fair amount of things to do, and it's kind of too much for one guy to do.
Oh, completely too much. I find the best setup is 2 or 3 people and then a bunch of supporting characters. Guys who pop in for a weekend and they want to hang out and contribute.
2 or 3 people are kind of board of directors. These guys call all the shots. They really are directing it. That's fine. You can have supporting people as well. They're just literally taking direction from me. And I have that already right now. I've got guys that are helpful, and like I just tell them what to do, and
Exactly.
they are supportive roles in this. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think that, trying to do social circle as a solo operator, this is why guys don't do it. It's like, oh my god, it's so much work, and frankly, it's better when you have your at least one other guy. Way better.
And that's why it's so important to, you know, first learn these skills and then be able to collaborate with these other guys. And that can be very difficult if you're not like in a group like we have, or if you're, if you're not in some sort of female relevant, you know, market or career, right? Like,
Absolutely. I'll tell you the one of the guys I was building this social circle with, he's not in a group, right? But you know what he did? He's a smart guy. He basically took an AI model and he threw all of Dan Bilzerian's content through that AI model to train the AI on Dan Bilzerian, and then used that to ask questions like how to do things.
interesting.
Basically kind of built a virtual AI Dan Bilzerian, like from all of his books and stuff, just so that he could kind of ask questions about how to do social circle and how to like navigate.
Oh, wow. Smart guy. But he was in, what wasn't he in a relevant group?
Yeah, okay. So like he was a little bit, but honestly, even that group is not like that. Didn't give him that much value, really. It still didn't give him like it told him a few of the right things to do, but a lot of it is the mindset and like if you're here in New York and all that, like what do we want to do? How do we want to position ourselves? Like what are we trying to? I don't know. What's our brand basically? And even like he and I had to work on that a lot actually to figure out like what is our message and brand. Because I mean, there's different kind of niches to try to conquer in any city.
For sure.
Yeah, that's where the AI helped, asking questions and, I don't know, just trying to figure out how to build a social circle that's sort of Wall Street, friendly, I guess. Like, basically, you can be the Wall Street guy and you're also running a social circle and it all is consistent.
So if you're a guy who's like listening to this podcast or watching and you can relate to this and you're, whatever stuck in whatever sort of phase we've talked about, how do you feel like them, either working with me in our community and working, together would benefit? Like, who should do that? What are some other things that people should do? Like, you know,
Well, I think you're amazing. Look, you are so important to all of this because you're an amazing strategist, and so like having like a 5-star general that can basically tell you the right things to do in terms of like a future plan is really really valuable because again most people are just kind of like hobbling along in life. They don't really know what's the next right move to do, and so I think you've seen so many things, you've lived so many things that your advice is quite helpful in that strategy. I mean, you offer a lot of good micro advice as well too, but I would say that your macro advice is like really like quite important. And I would even say that a lot of the other groups out there, they don't even necessarily offer that macro advice, like thinking really long term. There are some groups that had no idea about Instagram. They're not pushing that at all. They're only pushing online dating. I'm like, that's silly. You know, some groups have no idea about seeking as a fast funnel to basically really get an abundance. Okay, well that's like a missing piece of information. That's good to know. And
Thanks for
just,
saying
just
that.
some groups, just very cookie cutter, just very cookie
Yeah.
cutter, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of how I see both see how our
You're this like custom tailor, to be honest. You're making custom suits for people that fit, that fucking fit. Finally,
and that's what I like to do.
that fits New York or fits Columbia.
For such a long time, I guess I beat myself up or um I was trying to build this group into like a huge thing, obviously, because that's what most people think of success. Oh, I should build my business and grow it big and lots of clients. And what I've realized over the past couple years with working with a lot of guys just like you is I would rather go super deep with a guy and create really custom, like bespoke solutions and work with way fewer guys and have those guys be more aligned and get those guys to like work together with each other than sort of be this like CEO type who's like telling a bunch of coaches like, hey, get these 9 guys to like approach a bunch of girls every week or build their dating profiles, like doing all the usual boring stuff. Like that's just not what I want to do. Cause I love to geek out on a guy, be like, okay, what's your stick? How are we going to take these specific skills that you have, apply those to your social circle, apply those to your Instagram and social media?
And in that particular market as well. That's the key thing. It's like, what market are you in? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I think, look, if you're trying to have this massive scale, then yes, you're going to use very basic tools and things that are out there that apply to everyone. And honestly, I call this kind of like lowest common denominator, like mediocrity. Really, it's like it's mediocre. It's just very, there's surprisingly a lot of dating coaches out there that are pushing online dating. I'm like,
Well, it's shocking to me just how many, absolute losers there are of guys who just aren't doing anything. And they literally hire a coach because they're like, oh, I don't know how to set up my online dating profile. It's like, you need a coach for that. But like, they're just watching porn, hanging out, not doing anything. And they need that initial stepping stone. And that's obviously not the type of guys we're looking for. Like, the guys in the group are, absolute beasts. They're better than most of these dating coaches to begin with.
that's true. I see was the absolutely by far the most advanced group that I ever was part of because a lot of guys were already getting laid. Like they already had success. They just want to have even bigger success. So this is already like great because a lot of the other groups, if you were the guy that got laid, that oh my god, you're amazing, you're advanced. I'm like, okay,